بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
اللهم فك قيد أسرارنا وأسر المسلمين صلى الله عليه وسلم. فك العافية فك الأسير يا صمتنا. اللهم فك قيد أسرانا وأسر المسلمين وردهم إلى أهلهم سالمين.
A woman came to Baqi ibn Makhlad and she said, Baqi, my son has been held captive by the Romans. I can't find peace during the day or night. A mother in agony over her son. I can't sleep because I miss him. I can't find patience or peace or tranquility in my life. She's basically saying, Baqi, my son is a prisoner with the Romans and I'm going to lose my mind. You know how a mother is when she's separated from her son. Separating the soul is easier than separating a mother from her son. Out of all the ulama, why did she go to Baqi ibn Makhlad even though his abilities were less and even though he had no positions? Because when people are in hardship, they know the genuine ulama to turn to. They really do. Others may have more resources, but the genuine people in hardships know that the genuine ulama are the ones who are going to help them and not fight for the kuffar against their weak and oppressed brothers. She said, all I have, Baqi ibn Makhlad, is a duwaira. Sell it for me, help me sell it, and take the ransom and free my son. Duwaira is like a term in Arabic that she used for a small house, possibly a shack or something like that. Baqi said, wait until I look into this matter, inshallah. He then lowered his head, began to utter, his lips moved, and he made dua for her son to be freed. It was shortly thereafter that she returned with her son. She said to Baqi ibn Makhlad, listen, may Allah have mercy to what he has to say. The Sheikh said, what's your situation, son? How did you get out? He said, we were serving the king. They would take us to work in the desert all day until right before sunset. They would bring us back. You know how they did it back then? They have shackles on your foot and a long chain. He said, one day the shackle fell off and I became loose. The guard said, cursed me, and he said, why did you remove the shackle off your foot? He's telling the Sheikh, he said, I told him, Ya Sheikh, I told him, Wallahi, I did not feel, I did not do that. It just fell off by itself. The guard went and got a forger, one who fixes metal. He fixed it, he tightened it stronger than before and put it back on his foot. He said, as soon as I got up, it broke open again. So they fixed it, closed again. The third time, as soon as I got up after they fixed it, I took a few steps and it broke off again. 3 times. So they went to their priest to ask him, why is this happening? The priest said, bring him here, let me talk to him. He asked the young man, he said, do you have a mother? He said, yes. He said, she made dua for you and Allah answered her dua. Let him go. There's no way we can keep someone captive who Allah wants free. The priest knew it was dua. He assumed it was possibly the mother's, but in reality it was Baqi ibn Makhlad's dua. They sent guards with him to make sure he reaches the border of the Muslim land safe, and they told him, you're free to go. Baqi ibn Makhlad had a follow-up question. He said, when was the precise time the shackle broke off? When the young man told him, it turned out to be the same moments Baqi ibn Makhlad lowered his head down and began to move his lips. Baqi ibn Makhlad died shortly after this, approximately 276 after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu rahimahullah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the answer of our dua as he did to Baqi ibn Makhlad. When you ask what you should do to help prisoners or the weak and oppressed Muslims, don't ever minimize the power of dua. Shafi'i rahimahullah said, أَتَهْزَأُ بِالدُّعَاءِ وَتَزْدَرِيهِ وَمَا تَدْرِي بما صنع الدعاء. You mock dua or you minimize its power, but you don't know what dua does. سهام الليل لا تخطي ولكن لها أمد وللأمد انقضاء. The arrows of the night never miss. They have a destiny and they're going to reach that destiny. People call and visit situations and problems in this ummah today that wallahi make a baby's hair turn white. The issue, for example, of prisoners. Just to name one of many. In the history of Islam, never do I know of where, and I've read many volumes of history books where prisoners were neglected like they were today. In the lowest of low points, in historic points where the historian said, we don't want to even write about this portion because the Muslims were so low, the prisoners had more respect by the Muslims than they do today. Ibn Taymiyyah, in one of the lowest, darkest points of the history of the Muslims, when prisoners were taken, he would go himself and seek their release. He was no Khalifa. Ibn Taymiyyah was no governor. Ibn Taymiyyah had no position, no government position. As a scholar, not as a scholar, he went as a Muslim. In the 28th volume of Fatawa, page 616, I want you to read it. He talks about himself. He said, I went to Ghazan Shah, one of the leaders of the Tatar who respected Ibn Taymiyyah. And I told him, I want the release of the prisoners. Out of respect to Ibn Taymiyyah, he said, okay, I'm going to release all the Muslims, Muslim prisoners. He said, no, the people of the book, the Jews and Christians who you took with our prisoners need to be released with the Muslims. And Ibn Taymiyyah would not leave until they were all released. Both Jews and Christians. Ibn Taymiyyah get it, because prison is not a place to be. 2 or 3 days ago, when a sister called. Well, actually it was several calls, let me tell you. And she had an issue. She had a husband who's in prison. And children, no one supported them. One of them is sick. And she told me about her 3-year-old son and his sister. And she said every time someone comes near her or near the house, they bury their chest their head in their chest, fearing someone will take her because they seen the father being taken away. One who tells me how her son is missing, same day. One who told me how how his brother was kidnapped from a country, he's in Europe waiting to be extradited to another country. Another concern, which I don't know, I have not confirmed yet, Melton, another concerned sister calls over a sister whose kids were taken and given custody to the grandparents because the father's in prison and they're going to grow up to be non-Muslims. All in one day. Wallahi, I shouldn't say it. When they speak to me, wallahi, I mute the phone and cry in agony. Horrific stories. I don't want them to hear and make their misery more. Stories of horror. What do? You get up, at least of it. Make wudu. Put your head in sujood and make dua and ask Allah that Allah answer your dua like He did answer Baqi ibn Makhlad's dua. If it melts my heart, and I say that about me, if it made my heart melt, and if it made my eyes cry, and if it made my heart weep, if it made me have a sleepless night out of mercy and compassion to what they told me, Allah saved 99 mercies for Himself. And He left one mercy on this earth from the time of the creation until the judgment day. One mercy we have here. 99 were saved to Allah the Almighty. Allah the Almighty saved 99. A bird that feeds his babies, a mom's mercy to her compassion, to her son, kids, is one mercy. 99 mercies Allah saved for Himself. So imagine if instead of complaining to me, they went, which I don't mind it, and if I can help, I will inshallah, but I'm saying, imagine if that same talk went in sujood to Allah the Almighty who reserved 99 mercies for Himself. Our ulama may not have the power of dua that Baqi ibn Makhlad have in their dua, but you masses of the ummah, I say surely do. You masses, you youth who are sincere, who nobody knows about your dua,